You know, I tell people when they're fishing with me, you got to expect to catch a fish when you least expect it. Does that make any sense? These are looking small to me now, but you know what? That's a 2.5-pound largemouth. And it's a good thing that we're using this kind of pattern today to show you this technique, because out on the main lake, it's pretty windy. And even though we can get fish out there, this is kind of nice that we can go to a sheltered area like this and get these largemouth in crystal clear water. I mean, look at how clear the water is in here. Look at how healthy they are. I can't get over. See their nice pot bellies, all of them? And even a small guy, this is about 2.5 pounds. You can see that big mouth. But what I love is the way they take on the color of their surroundings. Now, you know, people ask me all the time, even on Ask Italo, about how do you tell the difference between a largemouth and a smallmouth. They go, you know, I catch bass and their mouths look about the same size, and they tell me that, you know, if the eye is over the jaw when the mouth is closed, but I'm not sure. I tell them, you know, the best ID to use for identifying bass is look at the dorsal fin. You see that I've got this dorsal fin extended? A largemouth, the dorsal fin is all one piece. See how there's no gap where I'm pointing my little finger? It's one fin. On a smallmouth, the front part of the dorsal goes down, touches the body. There's a gap of up to 1/2 inch, and then you have the second dorsal fin, okay? So that's the best ID for telling the difference between largemouth bass and smallmouth bass. Largemouth bass, dorsal fin connected. Smallmouth bass almost looks like 2 dorsal fins. Look at how nice and green everything is. I love the green. Look at, can you see that green sheen? Let me give you some reflection there. It's like an SOS to the largemouth. Come and buy my lures. Nice green on the cattails, green on the bottom. It's going to extend them out. Look at that. One little head shake and right back down. So you can see here, I mean, this looks like a big farmer's field. You know what? This is ideal. I can't get back there with this boat, even though it's pretty shallow. I wish I had my kayak. I would go way back there. Wherever there's open pockets way back in the distance, those are real hot spots for big bass, like 4 or 5 pound bass. And I would use like a Johnson silver minnow or a plastic frog way back there. We call those rice fields or rice paddies because it kind of looks like rice paddies that you'd see in Asia. But here where the cattails are the last thing to grow. And it's kind of neat because you know what? These cattails filter the water. Very, very important. These marshes. So the water here is very clear, all the nutrients are taken out. And then just on the other side of the cattail is a large weed flat subsurface, and then you have the main basin of this body of water. So the reason these bass are here is because the water is a little bit deeper and they can get anywhere in here. Underneath, it's all like a little highway with crossroads. You know, you tend to get bass of all sizes when you're fishing like this. This was a little guy that was just on the edge. But you know, a lot of people wouldn't go into this really thick stuff like this and cast. Look at how plump that largemouth is. For only being about 1.5 pounds, that's because they feed really well. And I don't think they use a lot of exercise because they don't have to move very far. I think these types of largemouth in this habitat actually learn to use cover for concealment, and then when something comes by, they just lash out and grab it. Whenever you're using plastics, whether it's a plastic worm or a lizard like that, it's very important that it's as straight as possible. You can see that it's got a little bit of a bend just because of the weight at the top, but it's pretty well straight. And I have that hook right inside this material. And this is a kind of an organic material that's got a lot of scent impregnated, so when a fish grabs it, he'll hold on to it. So very important that it's weedless like that. You know, one of my favorite fish to catch, and that I love to see kids catching them, is rainbow trout. Rainbow trout are very plentiful, even in places where there aren't trout naturally, because people will stock their ponds. For example, here they have this beautiful pond that has lots of trout in it because the water is spring-fed. It's groundwater that comes from a spring. Now, rainbow trout can live in pretty warm water that warms up to about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That might sound pretty cold to you, but the cold water fish like trout, it's actually pretty warm. So rainbow trout are plentiful. They're easy to catch because they like to bite on worms. You can catch them on corn. You can catch them on artificial lures like spoons and spinners. And the main way that you recognize a rainbow trout is that it's usually silver in color. And it has sometimes a stripe that goes down its side. It's either pink or it's red.